Alright, now that I'm done showing you guys the race saviors, time to show you guys my last final superhero team that I created. Last but not least, my last superhero team that I created is Super Spirit X. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the characters, the powers and abilities that they have, and of course where did I get the ideas from, and of course the origin story. Alright, so the leader of Super Spirit X is this character, Soldier. Now, he doesn't have superpowers, but he's obviously a military soldier from the military, and he obviously carries a rifle. And his real name is Dan Austin. And this is a drawing of him that I drew in my journal. Looks alright. Again, I'm not that good at drawing, but this is what I have. Next member of Super Spirit X is this character, Spino. But anyways, this is my character, Spino. And obviously, yep, he's a dinosaur, and he's the big one of the group. And the dinosaur that he is, he's a Spinosaurus, because the Spinosaurus is one of my favorite dinosaurs. Now, he doesn't have a real name, and he doesn't have a superpower, and I'll explain the origin story in a minute. This is a drawing of Spino that I drew in my journal. Looks good. Next characters that are members of Super Spirit X are these three characters: Diamond Gem, Golden Gem, and Silver Gem. Now obviously the armor that they're wearing is obviously golden, diamond, and silver. Golden Gem obviously wears a golden armor, Diamond Gem also wears a diamond armor, and Silver Gem also wears a silver armor. Diamond Gem, her real name is Victoria Diamond. Golden Gem, his real name is Ryan Gold, and Silver Gem, his real name is Christian Higgins. And this is a drawing of them that I drew in my journal. Looks alright. Next character that's part of Super Spirit X is this character, Steel Metal. Steel Metal, he's obviously a robot. He has the ability to like make weapons out of him, and of course like fire comes out of him. Usually something that a robot would do. And his real name is Renee Austin, and I'll explain his origin story in a minute. Here's a drawing of Steel Metal that I drew in my journal. Looks pretty good. Next character that's part of this team, Super Spirit X, is this character, Businessman. Now, he doesn't have superpowers, but obviously, he's very rich, he's got a lot of money, he's a very rich guy, and he holds a gun. His real name is Oscar Oliver. This is a drawing of Businessman that I drew in my journal. Looks alright. Next character is this character, Super Amber. Her superpower, she has a super energy that like comes out of her body, and she glows like very bright yellow. She has laser eyes. Her laser eyes are colored yellow. She has super strength, and she can obviously fly. She basically has all the superpowers because she's called Super Amber. Her real name is Amber Rose. This is a drawing of Super Amber that I drew in my journal. Looks pretty adorable. And again, I couldn't get the ponytail right, and of course the cape. Again, I'm not that good at drawing, but it's fine. Next character is this character, Scarlet Macaw. She actually has the ability to shapeshift into the actual bird, Scarlet Macaw. She can literally shapeshift into that actual bird, a macaw. And yes, she is named after that bird, Scarlet Macaw. That's a real bird, by the way. And her real name is Miley Perez. This is a drawing of Scarlet Macaw that I drew. Looks pretty cute and adorable. Last but not least is my favorite character that's part of this team, Bright Bella. Bright Bella is a half purple demon girl with horns and a tail. But the superpowers that she has fire power. Fire comes out of her hands, like fire comes out of her whole body, and she also has the ability to breathe fire out of her mouth. And her real name is Bella Cisneros. I'll explain her origin story in a minute. And the reason why I named her Bright Bella, I wanted to take her real name Bella, and obviously because fire is very bright, I obviously wanted to name her Bright Bella. You guys get the joke? Fire is bright, and her real name's Bella. You kind of get the joke. This is my drawing of Bright Bella that I drew in my journal. I couldn't get the horns right, and the triangle tail, it's alright, and yeah, this looks pretty cool. Alright, that was it. I finally introduced you guys to the characters. Now I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys where I got the ideas and the inspiration and what inspired me to create these characters and how did I come up with the names. Okay, so starting off with the leader of the team, Soldier. Where did I get the idea from? What inspired me to create this character? So I had an idea in my head where I wanted to create a character that's from the military, and that's obviously a soldier. What inspired me the most to create this character was Soldier Boy from The Boys TV show. And instead, he acts and he looks like an actual soldier from like World War II or something. And of course, I wanted to name him Soldier, and that's what I wanted to call him because he's obviously a soldier in the military. Next character is Spino. So what inspired me to create Spino was of course Jurassic Park 3. Because I love the Spinosaurus in that movie. I think he's terrifying. I think he's a really awesome dinosaur. But what also did inspire me to create Spino was Leatherhead from the Ninja Turtles TV show. And of course Spino, he He's obviously like a human-looking dinosaur. And I obviously wanted to name him Spino because Spino is short for Spinosaurus. Next characters are these three: Diamond Gem, Golden Gem, and Silver Gem. So what inspired me to create Diamond Gem, Golden Gem, and Silver Gem? And where did I get the idea from? So I remember one time, I went to the mall one time with my family, and of course there was this area that had like jewelry stuff, and it had like a bunch of golden stuff, silver, and a bunch of diamonds everywhere. And then looking at all that stuff, I actually thought like those were beautiful and they were pretty shiny, and it made me think to my head, I really want to create characters that wear like shiny golden or silver armor. And so I started creating these characters, and of course I obviously named them after the gold and silver stuff. Alright, next character is this character, Steel Metal. What inspired me to create this character? Where did I get the idea from? So when I was still creating Super Spirit X, I honestly thought, you know what, I also want to create a robot characters, because like there's like thousands of like superhero stuff or superhero movies that have robot characters. But the first inspiration for Steel Metal was the movie Chappie. Do y'all remember that movie, Chappie? Optimus Prime from Transformers also inspired me to create Steel Metal, and Iron Man from the Marvel movies. And I obviously wanted to name him Steel Metal because obviously he's a robot made out of steel and metal. Next character is this character, Businessman. Now, what inspired me to create this character, and where did I get the idea from? So what inspired me to create Businessman? So you guys know like how in today's world, a lot of like guys who are handsome, like, you know, like at weddings, they all wear like jumpsuits, like black and white suits. Or usually like people who are rich billionaires, they also wear that black and white suits. Usually a lot of guys, they usually wear those suits to like weddings or fancy places, and they obviously wear those because they're very rich. But another inspiration that inspired me to create Businessman was the movie Men in Black. Another inspiration was Tony Stark, and you guys know Tony Stark, he's a rich billionaire, and Bruce Wayne Batman, he's a millionaire. And I was like, bro, I want to create a superhero that's like very rich. He wears like a business suit and he's got a lot of money, and that's basically his power, is his money. And that's the reason why I named him Businessman. Next character is this character, Super Amber. So what inspired me to create Super Amber was Supergirl and Captain Marvel. I wanted to create a character that basically is Supergirl and Captain Marvel mixed together. But I wanted the character to have more power like Captain Marvel and have more vibes of Supergirl. And also Super Amber, she has a ponytail, and her mask is supposed to be like the one that Elastigirl wears in The Incredibles. And I named her Super Amber because obviously I wanted to create a character that's a little bit like Supergirl, and I named her real name as Amber, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna put her name as her superhero name, Super Amber. Something close to kind of like Supergirl or Superman. Because Super Amber, she has like all the powers. Next character is Scarlet Macaw. So what inspired me to create Scarlet Macaw, and where did I get the idea from? So what inspired me to create Scarlet Macaw was some of these videos that I saw on the internet where there's these like these shows live on stage where these people are dressed up as birds, macaws, parrots, whatever. And I remember back when I went to SeaWorld one time, they had a dolphin show and they had like parrots, macaws, and there were some of the people on stage dressed up as the macaws, the birds. But what also inspired me was back then, me and my mom, we went to like the zoo place, and she has a picture of her where she was carrying two birds. Like the red one, the Scarlet Macaw, was on her shoulder, and there was a green one that she was holding in her hands. And then when I look back at that photo, that's kind of what inspired me to create Scarlet Macaw. So Scarlet Macaw, her dress, her suit is inspired by some of the live on stage shows where you see people dressed up as parrots, macaws. And I obviously wanted to name her after the red parrot that's called, in real life, that's actually called a Scarlet Macaw. That's what she's named after. She's named after a real red parrot or a macaw called Scarlet Macaw. Alright, last but not least is Bright Bella. What inspired me to create Bright Bella, and where did I come up with the name? So the first inspiration, the first character that inspired me to create Bright Bella was Nightcrawler from the X-Men TV show or the movies. I just love how Nightcrawler is actually like a very faithful person where he talks about God like, you know, he looks like a demon, but it doesn't matter. Next character that inspired me to create Bright Bella was Hellboy. And I know like in the movies or in the comics, Hellboy is supposed to be Catholic, and I actually really love that story. I honestly really love the first two Hellboy movies. I honestly think those movies are amazing. Next character that inspired me to create Bright Bella was Melina from Mortal Kombat. So Bright Bella, she's basically Nightcrawler, Hellboy, and Melina all mixed together. And I obviously wanted to give her firepower. Like, yeah, it was kind of random, but I thought her having firepower, like, I thought that was sick. She's nothing like the Human Torch. Like, you guys know, like, in the Fantastic Four, the Human Torch, like, he's fully on fire. Bright Bella doesn't do that. Like, yeah, fire does come out of her body. It only comes out of her hand. She can breathe fire out of her mouth. She can also fly. And fire does come out of her chest, like, in the shape of the cross on her chest. Alright, so the team name. How did I come up with the team name? Originally, when I was creating these characters, I was originally going to call them Team Super, but I wasn't a big fan of it, so I wanted to change it to something new. And I obviously wanted the team to have, like, more biblical tones to it, like something that would reference the Bible. And of course, you know, like how we have the Holy Spirit, so like I took the word spirit and that's how I came up with the name Super Spirit X. Alright, now that I'm done showing you guys where I got the ideas from, now it's time for me to go ahead and give you guys the origin story about these characters. Alright, here we go. Here's the origin story. So here's how I basically describe it. It's basically almost close to being my version of X-Men. Where, you know, like in X-Men, those characters are mutants, like they're born with powers. This one is completely different. So here's the story about Super Spirit X. The team was created by Soldier. And here's some story about Soldier. Again, I said it before, Soldier, he's obviously a soldier from the military. He went to war during the 90s to the 2000s. And Soldier is actually an engineer. Like, he builds robots and, like, technology stuff. And he has a human brother named Renee Austin. And also, by the way, Soldier, his real name is Dan Austin. Soldier has a beautiful family. He has a beautiful wife and beautiful kids. And Soldier, he basically wants to create his own superhero team. And he wants his superhero team to be closely connected to the military. Like, a superhero team that works for the military. So, of course, Dan Austin and Renee Austin, they started building the team. Dan Austin, aka Soldier, started building the robot Steel Metal, and he was building a device where it can, like, transfer your soul into the robot body, like something similar to Avatar, where, like, your brain or your soul is in that Avatar body. That's what Soldier's creating. He created Steel Metal, where, like, basically you wear this headset. When you put it on, like, your brain or your entire soul is now in that robot body. Like, you are the one controlling the robot, and you can be in that robot body for however long you want to be in there. But while Dan Austin and Renee Austin were still building the team Super Spirit X, they had to have a meeting with this retired military marine soldier named Edward Wilson. And also, here's a big plot twist, he becomes a bad guy. And I will show that in a minute. But while Dan and Renee started having a meeting with Edward, Edward ends up attacking them. Renee ended up getting shot by Edward. Renee is badly injured and he's about to die, and Dan was trying his hardest best to figure a way how to save him, and the only way how to keep Renee alive is to transfer his soul into the robot body, Steel Metal. So Dan ended up using the device and he ended up putting it on Renee, and Renee, his spirit, his soul is now inside of the robot body. His soul has now been transferred to a new body, which is the robot body, Steel Metal. So the robot Steel Metal is being controlled by the soul, the spirit of Renee Austin, the brother of Soldier. And that was the only way how Soldier could keep his brother and, like, save his life. But now that they still started building up the team, the first member to join the team was Spino. And here's the origin story about Spino. So Spino is obviously a real human dinosaur character from 65 million years ago. You know, like how when there was dinosaurs, you know, people theorize that there was cave people. You ever seen those movies where there's cave people and dinosaurs? Well, 65 million years ago, Spino was part of his own team, his own tribe, which was like, not cave people, but instead it was Spinosaurus, dinosaur, human-looking characters. And there was a war between the human dinosaur characters and dinosaurs. And you guys know in the movie Jurassic Park, there was a mosquito that was frozen in this thing called Ember. Well, apparently Spino, he was frozen in that thing for like 65 million years ago. And the military actually found him and they decided to like defrost him, like melt the ice and like get him out of the ice. And he was still alive and he's now part of the group. He's now part of Super Spirit X. Now, I will say that story, that idea was inspired by Captain America. You know, like how he was frozen in ice for 70 years, and now he's in the future? That's how Spino ended up joining the team, and that's the origin story about Spino. So, of course, Soldier and Steel Metal, they wanted more characters to join the team, and they found out that there's these 3 superheroes that are saving the city of Galveston: Diamond Gem, Golden Gem, and Silver Gem. And they all 3 end up joining Super Spirit X. I don't have too much backstory or too much origin about Diamond Gem, Golden Gem, and Silver Gem. But I will say Diamond Gem, Golden Gem, they are actually brothers and sisters. Silver Gem, just their best friend. Next character to join the team is Businessman. Not only was Businessman a really rich person, he was rich because his parents were rich. When he ended up turning 21, his parents sadly died. And so all of that money is now his, and he is now a very rich billionaire. But he's using his money to protect himself and, of course, to save the world. And he obviously has a butler. You know, like how Batman, he has a butler named Alfred? All rich people have butlers. When Soldier found out about Businessman that he's a rich superhero, Soldier ends up contacting him and calling him like, hey, you want to join my superhero team? Next character to join Super Spirit X is Super Amber. And here's her origin story. So Super Amber is a 19-year-old. She ended up joining the team when she was 19. But here's her whole backstory. She's actually a passion baby. If you don't know what that is, I'll tell you. A passion baby is obviously a new life created from God, but the baby is born with superpowers that God gave to that baby. So when her parents had her, her parents were kind of shocked and surprised that she was born with superpowers, and that's because God gave her those powers. She was born with those powers, and that's why she's called a passion baby. And then years later, when she became a teenager, she actually goes to the same church as Soldier, and she ends up meeting Soldier, and then Soldier wants to train her how to use her powers for good, and how to be a superhero so that way she can join the team Super Spirit X. And then right when she turned 19, she finally joined the team. And then also another thing, she ends up falling in love with Businessman. Businessman and Super Amber are a couple. And another sad thing though, Super Amber, her parents sadly died. So Soldier has to like raise her and like, not adopt her, but like raise her and like protect her and like kind of raise her as like a daughter. Even though Soldier already has a beautiful wife and beautiful kids. Next character to join the team is Scarlet Macaw. And her origin story is the same as Super Amber because, if you don't know, Scarlet Macaw, she's actually the cousin of Super Amber. Super Amber and Scarlet Macaw, they're actually cousins. Again, Scarlet Macaw, she's a passion baby. She was born with the powers because God gave her those powers. And then right when she turned 18, she finally joined the team with her cousin. The last final character to join the team is Bright Bella. And she has more origin story, and I'm gonna go ahead and explain it. So the story about Bright Bella is that she was a real actual human, and she's actually a very famous singer at her church. She performs and sings on stage at her church. She's a very famous singer and she loves to sing. She loves music because that's obviously a gift from God. Now she was raised, I don't want to say Catholic or Christian because I don't like using those words, but I will say she was raised as a faithful believer. And that's what I call myself because I do believe religion is not the answer. When you call yourself a Christian or a Catholic, doesn't mean anything at all. That doesn't matter. Religion doesn't really matter. You do not need religion. You only need a relationship with God. Having a true relationship with God is the answer. But getting off topic a little bit, let me go ahead and explain the story. The suit that she's wearing that's orange and black, that's the suit that she wears all the time when she is performing and singing on stage. You know, like how Taylor Swift or Sabrina Carpenter, you've seen those like suits that they wear on stage? That's basically their singer suit. So here's the story about Bright Bella and how she turned into this purple demon. Her dad is a scientist that works at this science company, and her mom is a pastor at a church, which is the church that she goes to, and it's also, by the way, the church that Soldier goes to, and Super Amber and Scarlet Macaw. But anyways, the science company that her dad works with, the owner of the science company, he's an evil atheist. Like, he doesn't believe in God, he doesn't believe in demons or angels. But one time, there was these group of scientists where they actually found a dead demon, like a real actual demon that's dead. And so the group of the scientists, they took it to the science lab and showed it to the scientists. And the scientists obviously did not want this thing because, you know, he doesn't believe in demons. But the evil scientist, he ends up taking the DNA, he ends up taking the demon's DNA, and he starts building a machine where it's actually, he's putting the DNA in there where he wants to test out and like wants to turn somebody into a demon. And so one time, Bella, her dad, ended up taking her to his job, but then sadly tragedy struck. The evil scientist wanted to turn Bella into the purple demon, and the evil scientist, he shot her dad. And so the evil scientist puts Bella in the machine, and she transforms, she turned into the purple demon with firepower. And then she ended up destroying the science lab, and she ended up killing all the scientists that turned her into this purple demon. And she wants revenge on the evil scientist, the owner that's responsible for turning her into this purple demon. And there's going to be a really sad moment with her where she ends up losing her dad, and you know, her dad sees that she's a demon now. But right when her dad is about to die, he ends up telling her that he still loves her with all of his heart, and he still loves who she is. And also another thing though, Bright Bella, she is a teenager, so all of this stuff happened to her when she was a teenager. She turned into a purple demon, and right now she's really suffering from a lot of pain, and she's obviously suffering from anxiety because she's scared of what people are going to think about her, of what she looks like now. And she was so scared to like show her mom who she is now, that she is a demon. She's suffering from so much anxiety, and she's really scared to like show her face in public again. And like her entire fan base, they're really scared and wondering like where she is, that she was missing. Like she's been missing for over like a month. And it's because she doesn't want to show herself in public because she's scared of what people are going to think about her. People are going to think she's evil. But here's a great message about this story. You see, the thing though, that was basically the devil trying to attack her, trying to take her life away, but God still saved her life. And God still loves her. Like, your looks, like you were made in God's image. Calling yourself ugly, like people saying that you look ugly, that's not true. And it's really sad that a lot of people like might accuse you thinking that you're evil. You're not, because you were made in God's image. You look evil on the outside, but in the inside you are not evil. It's just sometimes people in today's world, they won't understand. Like, you guys know Nightcrawler from the X-Men show. Like, the reason why he's one of my favorite characters is because I love how faithful he is, where he talks about God. He talks about, yeah, like, I look evil, I look like a demon, but I believe in God, and this is how I was made. My looks and appearance don't matter. What matters is my relationship with God. And always remember this, God, he will never give up on us. God made you who you are, and he still loves you. You were made in God's image. And again, sometimes people won't understand. Sometimes they don't want to listen. But the only one that has your back, that is always with you, that will always listen to you, is God and your Lord and Savior Jesus. Y'all know, y'all remember the movie Hunchback of Notre Dame? The most sad part about that movie is how people make fun of him. People hate him because he looks like, he's very ugly and he looks like a demon. But it doesn't matter, like, that's how God made him. Because again, you look evil on the outside, but in the inside you are not evil. It's just people in the real world don't want to listen. Like, it is never okay to treat people who are different. It's not okay to judge what they look like or who they are. Only God can judge. But getting back to the story about Bright Bella, when Bright Bella finally reveals herself to her mom, and she ends up telling the truth about what happened to her dad and what happened to her, her mom is just really shocked and, you know, crying and just hugs her like she still loves her with all of her heart. Like, you know, I don't care that you look like a demon. With all my heart, you're still my daughter. And you are still God's child. And so back at the church, Soldier ends up helping Bella. And then Soldier ends up telling the public and letting the church, showing what Bella is right now. And Bella finally shows her face in public. And people now understand. And a lot of people felt very bad for her and felt sad for her that she's a demon now. But now a lot of people, they now understand that it's not okay to judge people who they are, but just love and respect them of who they are. Because again, you look evil on the outside, but in the inside, you are not evil. And finally, Bella, she's now accepted. People don't care that she's a demon. They treat her like a regular person because she is a regular person. And then after months have passed, Soldier teaches Bella how to use her powers. And she's learning how to use her powers for good. And she finally ends up joining the team. She finally becomes a superhero. Then sadly, her mom passed away, and Soldier decides to not adopt Bella, but raise her like a daughter. And another thing though, when Bella gets introduced to Super Spirit X, when she gets introduced to the team, she gets really scared and like anxiety because she's afraid of what they're going to think about her, that she looks like a demon. But they still love her and respect her. Like, you know, like, we don't care that you look like a demon. We love you and we respect you. We treat you like a regular person because that's who you are. And here's another big plot twist though, the evil scientist that turned her into that purple demon, this is what he looks like, and he is the main bad guy of this Super Spirit X story. And another story about Bella, not only does she get help from Soldier, but she also gets help from a friend at church named Chelsea, who is a super powerful angel. The church that Bella goes to, all the people there, when they get baptized and accept their life to Christ, they get a shiny golden cross necklace from the 5 angels of heaven. Like, it's basically a gift from God. Like, when you put on the cross necklace, it gives you superpowers and you turn into a human-looking angel. That's who this character Chelsea is. And another big thing, though, about cross necklace, when you wear this cross necklace, in my opinion, it doesn't mean to show everyone that you're Christian. It doesn't mean to show everyone who you are. But what this symbol means is that it gives you power and to remind you that your Lord and Savior is always with you. And honestly, there's going to be such a cute and a really adorable moment between Bright Bella and Chelsea. They're basically best friends. And you know, Chelsea, she treats Bella like a regular person because that's who she is. But of course, out of nowhere, the evil scientist tries to attack Bella. He comes and attacks the church, but then sadly, Chelsea sacrificed her life. And of course, again, Bright Bella, she's struggling with revenge, and she basically wants revenge on the science guy that turned her into the purple demon, and that also killed Chelsea. And Bright Bella's honestly so sad that she just lost her best friend, Chelsea, because Chelsea has always been on her side, always protected her from evil, and always treated her like a regular person to understand that she's not a demon. She's basically who she is. She's part human. And another big thing though about Bright Bella, you notice how she's not wearing shoes, she's actually barefoot the whole time. And when she was a human, every time when she sings on stage, she's always barefoot, like she doesn't wear shoes at all. The reason why is because she believes that the ground that she stands on is holy ground. Kind of like Moses from the Prince of Egypt. You guys remember like the scene where he meets God, the burning bush, and then he's talking to him, and then God tells him to take off his sandals? Through the entire movie of the Prince of Egypt, Moses, he's barefoot the entire time because he believes that the ground that he's standing on is holy ground. And another big thing though, that's kind of funny though about Bright Bella, she gets very angry and very mad if you keep calling her a demon, because that's not what she is. She doesn't believe that's what she is. So of course, Soldier and Super Spirit X, they decided to ban the word demon, and of course even her church, they banned the word demon. So like, you are not allowed to say the word demon, because it makes Bella very mad. Because sometimes Bella, again, she struggles with revenge and she struggles with her anger. But she obviously has to understand that there's a God out there that loves her so much with all of his heart. But don't you dare be calling her a demon because she gets mad. Because again, she wants to be treated like a human. That's who she is. And she's a good person. She's a superhero. She wants to save lives because that's what God tells her to do. Another big message though about some of my stories, they will have amazing messages about how a lot of people in today's world, they're born with different eyes, because I believe we can see what those people can't see, and we can't see what those people can see. Alright guys, that's it. That was Super Spirit X. Now let's move on to the villains.